So welcome, Perennial Pride listeners. Thanks for joining me as always. I really appreciate you listening and hopefully getting some value at it. So today I have a exciting podcast today. It's the first time I had my son joining me on this podcast. Haven't done that before. And this is part 2 of the series where we go through our trip to review an investment property and opportunity in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it was just a fun event, great time with father-son sort of time together. But overall, it was really a great experience. And so, if you haven't listened to the first episode, I encourage you to do so. There I go through a little bit more on sort of investment philosophies and thinking about how to evaluate these types of multifamily sort of syndication deals, and just my impressions on the investment itself. This one's going to be a little bit lighter, just to give you a sense of what it looks like from the eyes of a 20-year-old who's, in college, kind of getting his head around just life and finances and such. So I thought it would be cool to share his thoughts on it and see what maybe it could help with your conversations with those kids in your families as well. So Aidan, thanks for joining me today.
Of course. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. I hope so. Right. And maybe we'll do more of these things. But, we reflect back. I mean, when I first saw the opportunity to go on the trip, one was for due diligence to kind of check out an investment I might do or share with others. It was a great opportunity to go visit Raleigh and meet the team and such, and obviously bring Aidan into the conversation as we are thinking about as a family, things that we're investing in. So it's really cool. So to get started, Aidan, I mean, I know you looked at some stuff before going on the trip. Before going on the trip, kind of what were some things kind of you're thinking about before we even headed out there?
Well, I was just imagining when I first thought of it, I was imagining like a apartment complex or something. But once we actually visited like the properties, it looked a lot better than I imagined. They had all of these like family houses, like a really nice like community almost. Like just like the landscaping and everything of the properties was very nice and just seemed like very well maintained, and I was impressed by that.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, because you watched the webinar of it and the replay of it, but so it sounds like that surprised you, like the sort of structure of the team. What else really surprised you about it?
Well, yeah, it's also they had like all these amenities at most of the properties. That was pretty cool to see. And also like their team, just like they seemed like really confident in their plan, and like they seem to have like a good grasp of like the people that worked at these like establishments, like the properties, and they seem to have a good connection with them.
Yeah.
A good relationship, and the people that worked there seemed to know what they were doing. They had a good grasp on it.
Yeah. And this is, again, for thinking about it broadly, right? It's like a mini business. It is a business, right? You have employees, you're operating a business to create leases and rentals and sort of manage it. And so it's really centered on, building a culture around the team.
Yeah.
Right. To sound connected. You got to meet the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing, right? And talk to him to understand how he visualizes the company going and why these things fit their model, right? So I guess now that you've reflected on more, like, going into it, you're thinking something, but, maybe how does this whole world change for you after kind of going into this sort of trip? Like,
well, yeah, it definitely opened up, like, because I didn't, like, before, when I thought of, like, investments, I mostly thought it was, like, stocks and bonds and stuff like that. But after learning about these more, like, private investments, it shows there's a lot of other opportunities that you're able to, like, put some money into and have, like, a decent amount of trust. Because, like, after looking at, like, watching the webinar and listening on the trip, like, they've had a lot of experience in the past with these types of properties, and they have, like, a pretty high chance of doing well. So I thought that was very cool to see, and very like it makes me more confident in the investment, which I thought before it'd be a little more risky with this type of like massive property, but it seems they know what they're doing and they can manage it well, especially after buying a property that has like a high rate of people living in it for the past.
Right. Yeah. That there were, this one was like 95% occupied, and to your point, but you hit on something really important, which again, you thought it was high risk to begin with, right? Without knowing much about it. But as you learn more about it, meet the team, you kind of build the confidence around it, right?
Yeah,
You almost de-risked it in some way,
for sure.
right? And there's something really big to take away with that, right? Because there's a philosophy. It's the risk is not in the investment; it's in the investor. How much do they know about it?
Yeah.
How do they know the people involved? And unfortunately, a lot of cases, a lot of people are investing in things they don't really know much about, right? They just invest.
Yeah.
That seems a little bit riskier from my vantage point. This takes some effort, right? You had to come and go explore it. But, it sounds like you now have a little bit more confidence as you look at anything else.
Yeah. Especially because they're very welcoming people. They had the trip was planned out well, all the tours and stuff, and I think they did a really well job of making us feel welcomed and trying to make us feel more confident in their ability.
Yeah. And it is a pretty, the scale of what they do, it's hard to really reconcile. And when you're looking on paper, these are big places, a lot to manage. However, I think because what you alluded to, that their expertise on this and they stay in their lane, that's another good sort of philosophy is before you start expanding into investment world, like do something really well, right? That fits you and well, and then start expanding, right? We might want to get into all these different things all over the place, but how much do you know about any of them, right? So it's staying in that lane. And to your point, the professionalism, you felt like they knew what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I guess the question I have for you too is you see so much on social media and other places around investing, like help me. So from your lens, because you see this stuff, like now you see it in person, something like this compared to what you see out there on social media, like how would you describe that? Like,
well, yeah, I think mostly when I see stuff online about investing, it's more focused on like investing in like stocks or like ETF or like crypto or something like that, which that stuff is all like online, like kind of like intangible.
Yeah.
But learning about these type of like real estate investments, like going there to see it in person definitely opens up a lot more like potential for different like ways you can build your investments and expand your like portfolio or diversify.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those areas which I always find funny because they say like these types of investments are alternative, like which for some people equals high risk. And there's definitely risk to it. Just like any investment will have some level of risk, but doing what we did and what you did to go see it hopefully mitigates a chunk of it.
Yeah.
Right. You know what you're going to work with, right? And I guess trusting your money with, right? And, I don't know. I mean, obviously you see apartment complexes, I've owned homes and rental properties and some of them I actually haven't even seen in person.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, it's, that's from my younger days. Now I go make sure I go see them, but really, it sounds like it really helped you to go actually see it and see something physical in place. A lot of the stuff around the types of investments are sort of all paper assets. So you don't actually see anything or touch anything. And it makes it like crypto or something. It makes it a little bit harder to sort of get your head around. Anyway, anything else that you think stood out for you for the business that you haven't shared already?
Well, something that definitely made me feel better about it is when they were talking about how like selective they were about which properties they wanted to invest in. Like they said, like they would look at like hundreds of these and only like take like a handful to like actually go through with. And it just shows like these people like know what they're looking for, like know what works for them and how they can turn a specific kind of property into like a profitable investment, which I think is really good.
No, that's absolutely a great point, Aidan, because that's where it is, like staying in your lane.
Yeah.
Right. Not trying to get too far off of it unless there's a need to, right? As maybe the economy changes or something happens, they have to shift gears. But to your point, they are very selective.
Mhm.
It's a good sort of reminder for all of us around this. Like, I think even it was Buffett kind of said it, like, I wish everyone just had like a little card that says you have only 10 investments to make, and every time you make one, you punch a hole. So it makes you really have to think about, is it a right one for you? Is it make sense for is it in your place that you know better and have a competitive edge? Or you're just randomly investing in things and hoping it works? So it's really a tremendous point you bring up. So, it's interesting because and sometimes as I'm getting older, obviously I'm still trying to stay attuned to how, younger folks like you see these things and, how as you're growing up and learning about investing, like what does that even look like today when you're getting educated? What have you seen primarily? Is it primarily just the stock market? Or like what are you seeing when you learned in high school or what you're exposed to today?
Yeah, I feel like especially for younger people like me, like a lot of stuff about investing is more related to like quick like stocks and like other online like crypto and stuff like that. Cause like I feel like it for young people, like getting into like real estate or stuff like this, like you need more like money to get.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Yeah.
harder. Like,
Yeah.
for like younger people who don't have that much money to invest. So it's a lot easier just to open like a stock account or something like that. But just seeing this kind of stuff definitely gives me like a goal of what I want to like get into the future, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's a tremendous point. Listen, I think there's a lot of assets can do a lot of different things and such. And what you talked about is a reality. Most people are not coming with hundreds of thousands of dollars to start.
Mhm.
So you have to start somewhere, like you said, and it makes perfect sense. And I guess if you think about finances in general, because there's a lot of things related to it, is there anything else now you experience this kind of first hands-on thing, but anything that sort of intimidates you about the personal finance or investing world?
Well, I think the most intimidating thing, obviously, is just like the uncertainty of like the future and like
Mhm.
what the market might look like in a couple years. Cause obviously we don't know what's going to happen. So just like thinking about that is definitely a little intimidating.
Yeah.
But being able to see like these past results for like these companies or like even like the stock market, it definitely helps a little bit. But I think you just have to like swallow your fear sometimes.
Yeah. That's a good point. And go see it. It still might not be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
But again, now it's like, okay, it's either like going to this place these are just people, right? They're
Mm.
just normal people like you and me. They just obviously are centered on their business and their model and easy to talk to, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
were all very friendly to your point, and it's like, okay, getting to know them and say, these are people you want to trust, right? You do your work and due diligence on it. So that's great. So this is a question I wanted to ask you too, again, this is helpful, hopefully for parents or people thinking about maybe sharing some stuff with their kids. Like, what do you think they miss in the schools? Like when they're teaching kids around finance?
Well, I think they try to focus more on like the stock market when talking about finance and like
Mm.
investing. So being able to be exposed to like these more private, or lesser known investments definitely opens up a lot of doorways and different opportunities that I might be able to get into the future.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important because like the stock market obviously can be a great investment, but it's definitely not the only outlet you
Right.
can use to grow your money.
Yeah. And to your point, it's maybe a starting point as you build your
Yes.
education experience and maybe getting into things like, direct ownership of real estate or owning a business. I mean, those are not things you should take to very lightly. There's a lot potentially more involved with them. But you grow into it as you get more exposure,
Yeah.
right, to them. Right. And so that's great. Yeah. And a lot of these things too, which I really take to heart, especially as I was getting older and you guys are getting older is, one, I love learning kind of how you guys see it and get exposed to it, but it's also kind of learning together because you might be investing together, right, over
Yeah.
the long run of things. And, I know it's so important, just like you're doing with education, like seeing more, the more you know and see, it's going to hopefully just breed some confidence for you guys as you kind of get older. And, hopefully we're making family investments together.
Yeah.
Right down the road. But now you have at least a good lens of how to think about these things as you're doing them for yourself. So, that's why it was great to experience and see financially what an investment could look like for it. But it's really obviously more than the money part of it. And anyone who's listened to this podcast for long enough recognize that, I've really harp on that concept is money being the tool that helps you live the life you want to lead, and being around the people you want to be with, and supporting your family members in the way you'd like to, and doing it in an intentional manner. And so you can use that to help support your growth and sort of maturation and, and the future you're trying to build for yourself and your family. So this was hopefully a stepping stone, and we'll have more of these things as we kind of go along here. Aidan, anything else that you'd love to share, even for other people like your age or thinking about learning about these investments or diving into these topics?
Yeah, I mean, definitely seeing this type of investment definitely changed my perspective on like real estate investing overall. Because before when I think about real estate investing, I thought you buy like a property yourself and like, I don't know, like rent it out or redo it. But seeing this and realizing you can just like invest into someone else to do it for you definitely seems to make it seem a lot more accessible for like the average person. But even though it does cost a little bit more money to get into it, but that's definitely a stepping stone. I think I could see myself getting into the future. It seems, I'm pretty confident and looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. And again, it's in a starting point as you learn and see things. So that's really key. And obviously for folks where you are in your life and business, and that part of our job is to continue to grow and learn these things, because you never know when they might be a better fit for you or be something that's an opportunity that falls in your lap. You'll be more prepared for it, right? To be able to do it, or maybe have the capital or just the acumen to review it. So, best prepared. What's that? Luck is, when opportunity meets or preparedness or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. You know it, right? And so it's in your face. So anyway, listen, this was all we wanted to cover today. Listen, I appreciate Aidan you joining me for this one.
Of course.
I really enjoyed our time together, and we'll hopefully do more of these things and review some investments and other opportunities in wealth building. Right? It's not all about investments. So thanks, as always, Perennial Pride listeners. We'll see you on the next episode, and make sure you watch the first one where I talk about, my experience at the Raleigh, North Carolina trip out there, and then, hopefully sort of glues these things together so you get a bigger perspective on what it was like. So thanks as always. Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride Podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it, and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.